Welcome to Google Ads Unleashed, the podcast that helps you harness the power of Google Ads. And now your host, Jeremy Young.
Last week, I attended a conference in Utrecht, the Netherlands, that was organized by our friends from Channable and Product Hero. And there was one talk that I heard which I found really inspiring and underlines one of the previous episodes I've done. But I wanted to talk about this again. And I'm going to tell you a secret that not many people know. Let's dive right in. Hello and welcome back to Google Ads Unleashed, guys. Hope everyone is doing fabulously this Monday. So this will actually come out, I think, on the 30th. So it will always already be a week after I've actually attended the event. But last week, a colleague of mine and I went to Utrecht, met some fabulous people there, some brilliant minds, and attended a couple of keynotes and one very, very cool mastermind. And it was actually from Bob Meyer from the PPC Hub, right? The title of it was, I think, Stop trying to fix everything and focus on one thing at once. And essentially what it was all about is about an episode that I've done already. So he didn't obviously make it about the episode I made, but rather he more or less presented a theoretical framework of how to think about Google Ads if you are serious about wanting to fix real issues and serious about really wanting to grow accounts. Okay? So the concept was as follows, and I want to really pay homage to this, as I'm not nicking the content now here, but rather I feel we hit an interesting zeitgeist there, because I always have thought about Google in this way, and it's refreshing to see that a thought leader in the industry was of the exact same opinion and presented this to 200 people in the room or something, and blew 99% of people's minds with this kind of content. So because it's so simple yet so obvious to me, and that is that Google Ads is a discipline that used to require a lot of manual work. Okay, so many moons ago, when I sort of first got into it, you had to adjust keywords on a daily basis and set bids. You'd have to do tons of manual work in order to actually do the doing, right? Because there was no advanced bidding strategies. There was no PMax. There was no AI Max. There was barely any broad match, right? I remember when broad match modifier was introduced, right? And the thing is that for a long time, people hence had to provide a lot of work and input with Google Ads accounts because it was actually hard work. Nowadays, Google Ads is more of we need to create a cosmos or an environment where people find the right product at the right time for the right people at the right moment, right? And we have to provide a data environment to Google that helps Google just do the job automatically without us really having to have that much input anymore. Of course, we have to have overview of the of the budgets, of the search terms. We have to do some negative stuff, lots of stuff, right? Listen to the episode about the SOPs, what we do on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis. But the trap that happens here is that you sometimes appear to be busy just to be busy, right? Whether you're an e-commerce business owner or a Google Ads expert and think, okay, I need to sort of prove my value here and do all the doing and do all the hard work and whatever. Or if you're an e-commerce expert, you're trying to, I get this all the time in consultancy where people are, should I, up the budgets there a little bit and drop the ROAS targets there a little bit. I literally even had it this morning, right? And people get so bogged down into this work for one very uncomfortable reason, and that is because it's comfortable, because it's easy, right? I am even about to lose a client over this, right? I'm going to be brutally honest and very, very vulnerable here. We are going to say goodbye to a client because they are unwilling to accept the truth, and that is that we can't media buy ourselves out of or into growth, and we can't media buy ourselves out of problems or lack of growth. Okay, and it's pissing me off to no degree that people don't understand this, because but it's human nature, right? We want to see the solutions in tweaking that bid or making that new ad or whatnot, but the solutions lies usually somewhere else. 30% of your success is only within the ad platform, maybe even less. 70% of your success is beyond what happens. And the interesting thing is that everyone goes through that journey, right? There's a certain amount of ad real estate that exists. There's so many people searching for your stuff or your service or whatever. Then we create a data environment where Google's doing its job. You can see if it's working by, and especially against competitors as well, by your click-through rate and your CPCs. The CPC is already an indicator of what happens beyond the click, right? If people actually like the page, if it loads quickly, etc. And then it's either your entire lead gen process, whether you get leads on a landing page, so conversion rate there, or whether it's your MQL SQL ratio, or even deal closed ratio, and then deal value, average deal value, average deal margin, and lifetime value. Or in e-commerce, it's your add to cart rate, begin checkout, purchase rate, conversion rate, and then your average order value, your margin, and your lifetime value. And what is the fact of the matter, that if you reverse this chain and start at the recurring customers, is that you can work your way backwards and understand where the bottleneck is and where your real attention should go. Because I bet you any money there's people listening to this who spend a couple of hours each week in an ad account tweaking this, doing this, and really it's not really moving the needle, right? What you should be doing is understanding where you should be moving the needle and deploying mechanisms and strategies in order to solve those bottlenecks. And those usually go from conversion upwards, right? Or from that kind of chain that I just mentioned upwards. Let's say, for instance, you're a beauty business and you're doing everything right, but your returning customer rate's at 5%. Clearly there's something wrong with your retention marketing and your products, because people don't want to buy them once they've bought them, okay? So, or your customer service, whatever. So that is something you need to fix. But the problem is that's difficult and it's uncomfortable. Changing your product is difficult. For instance, another thing, we have been working with a supplement brand for a while, and we've realized they've been for a long time grossly overspending on ads. So now at least we're profitable, but their recurring customer value is really, really terrible, because their packages are too big, right? They sell like a kilo of the fucking thing, and it lasts half a year for someone. Of course no one's going to buy it again or cross buy or whatever. They love the product, but it's much too good value for money, right? So you kind of have to think a little bit like a business owner and do that. So that is difficult to fix. It's easy to think, oh, I can make another display campaign or do that and so on, but it's not solving the root issue of what is causing your woes, okay? Or like yesterday, we went backwards to the chain with a client of ours. They sell a piece of furniture, right? They have no recurring customers, because in some industries that's normal, right? Or barely any returning customers. And that's normal because, let's say, who buys a second bed, right? If you bought one bed, you typically don't need one for another 10 years. So it's a one-time purchase typically. It was like a house. There's not really recurring customers for houses, right? As an example. So that's not an issue, but his margins were good. His average order value was fantastic. His conversion rate was the first thing, right? So we've been running ads now for him for a while, and his conversion rate, I say for a while, but we've established a new benchmark of where he should be. And we understood, okay, there's an issue with conversion rate. From begin checkout to conversion, there's a huge drop off, about 50%. So we told him, fix the trust signals in the checkout and we're also going to do some research on what better offer we could do, for instance, risk reversal or something like that, or look at competitors, what do they do, and then do things differently, or see if we can do some sort of offer that helps with the conversion rate, right? Add to cart to begin checkout wasn't an issue, but add to cart rate was low as well. So that indicates probably not only that there's a kind of a pull the trigger issue with lack of trust in the checkout, but also like an issue with the offer or something like that, right? Could also be an issue with what product they should choose. He's got like 5 or 6 or 7 of a similar like type of furniture, and it's really hard for people to know what to choose, right? So it could be something like that. So we're also installing Hotjar or any kind of feedback tool to now ask people on the site what may stop them from making a purchase. So that way we find out how do we make it easier. Maybe we need a live chat, maybe we need this and so on. But you realize we're trying to improve Google Ads performance here without having even touched the fucking ad account so far. Because all of those, I could do anything I want in the ad account and appear busy and do this and do that and whatever. Maybe you'll add another % or something like that, but it's not going to move the needle. So what I need everyone who listens to this to understand is that you've got to stop looking busy and you've got to start understanding what the actual solution is to fixing your funnel. And the beautiful thing about this is that you can do this bit by bit, okay? So, and also this establishes, new equilibria which you've not seen before. So, let's say for instance, we done this last summer, right? We had a client, he was making okay revenue, but it wasn't quite there where we wanted to be. So, profit was alright, but the conversion rate was a massive issue and add to cart rate. So we installed Hotjar asking what's going on, and everyone was complaining about the price, and we realized as a reseller he hadn't adjusted his prices in ages, and as a result we were undercut by 90% of the competition. We've changed that, and overnight sales doubled. We didn't do sweet FA in the ads. We understood what the bottleneck was, went uncomfortable, fixed that, and went back, and it did actually what it's meant to do within Google Ads. And this is how you should be thinking about Google Ads. This is where you should be spending your time. Of course you should have SOPs, of course you should have certain routine tasks, hygiene stuff, which you should always do in order to improve performance. But real growth comes from analyzing what the funnel is on a monthly basis, analyzing what it looks off and fixing that. And unfortunately that's more difficult, it is uncomfortable, that's why people don't do it, but that's why we exist, and that's why we run a successful agency, because that's what we do, right? Which other people do not, and that is how you outgun your competitors and how you become really good at this job. And with that, if you need help with that, let me know. Jeremy@younganddigital.marketing or Jeremy Young Google Ads on LinkedIn. You can simply send me a message, or you can also head to the website and book a one-to-one call with me, and hopefully I can help you fix your conversion journey as well. This has been Jeremy Young, your personal Google Ads expert, and I wish you a happy and productive week ahead.
Thank you for listening to Google Ads Unleashed. To connect with Jeremy, check him out online at www.younganddigital.marketing. We'll see you next time.